Today we're going to be looking into two separate but chillingly similar tragedies that unfolded in Pakistan. We're going to break down what happened, dig into the why, and then look at the devastating aftermath. So, let's get right into it.
Yeah, just look at this. Two different cities, two different families, and two absolute massacres. The report lays out a story of just shocking parallels. You have these two families completely torn apart by brutal violence, and allegedly at the hands of their own relatives. The similarities here are just as tragic as they are disturbing.
Okay, so let's start with case number one. This one takes us to the city of Okara. What we have here is a situation where a series of family disputes, things that had been simmering for a long time, just spiraled out of control into this horrifying public crime spree.
So, the primary suspect here is a man named Mohammed Rafiq. According to the report, he'd been living abroad for a while, and he was tangled up in a bunch of legal battles with his ex-wife's family. We're talking arguments over money he'd sent home, property ownership cases, you name it. And it all seemed to come to a head over one critical court decision. All right, let's just walk through the timeline, because the sequence of events is just chilling. It all kicks off right after a family court appearance. The moment the hearing is over, Rafiq allegedly opens fire, killing his ex-wife's uncle and her cousin right then and there. But he wasn't done. He then goes to another area, Ladabadabad, and attacks again, killing his ex-wife Farzana and her brother Kashif. He was on the run for a whole night, but then the next day he just walks into the police station and turns himself in.
The final toll in this single rampage was five lives lost. The victims were his ex-wife and four of her close relatives, her brother, her mother, her uncle, and her cousin. It's just a devastating loss for one family.
Now, in what the report itself calls an equally tragic incident, we're going to turn to our second case. This one takes place in the city of Lahore, and the circumstances here were very, very different. But the outcome, well, it was just as heartbreaking.
In Lahore, the suspect is identified as a man named Abid, and here, the initial police investigation points to a completely different kind of trigger. They believe Abid was addicted to drugs, specifically crystal meth or ice, and that he acted while under its influence.
And if you look at how this crime unfolded, it's just methodical, calculated horror. Abid reportedly goes into his own family's home, armed with an automatic rifle. He opens fire on his family while they're sleeping, his parents, his sister, and his nephew. Then he gets in his car, drives several kilometers over to his in-laws' house, and continues the attack, killing two more people and injuring one. That's finally when police, the Dolphin Squad, showed up and arrested him right at the scene.
In this case, the total number of victims was 6. His own family and his in-laws. 2 separate households, completely shattered in just one night.
So, what we have are 2 horrific massacres with devastatingly high body counts. But when you start to look at the why, the reported motives couldn't be more different. And this is where these 2 very similar cases just completely diverge.
I mean, let's put it side by side. On the one hand, you've got Rafiq in Okara. His actions were apparently driven by these long-running grudges over money and property, and it all boiled over after a bad court verdict. On the other hand, you have Abid in Lahore, where the investigation points to his actions being fueled entirely by drug use. 2 completely different paths that somehow led to the same tragic end.
And this direct quote from a police official really underscores the motive in that Okara case. The Deputy Superintendent of Police, Mohammed Salim Ruth, flat out says that Rafiq shot and killed them following the court order. So he's explicitly linking the violence to that legal decision, suggesting it was the final trigger.
So now let's look at the aftermath. The report gets into the immediate response from law enforcement and the fallout from these 2 absolutely horrific events. While the aftermath shows some key differences, but also some similarities, the Lahore suspect was arrested right there on the spot, but the Okara suspect, Rafiq, was on the loose overnight before he surrendered. And can you imagine the terror? The report even notes the local community remained under the spell of fear. But in both cases, the official response was swift and extensive. Heavy police presence, forensic teams dispatched, and crime scenes cordoned off for investigation.
You know, seeing these 2 stories side by side really forces us to ask a difficult question. Whether it's fueled by legal grievances or by substance abuse, what is the breaking point that turns a personal conflict into an explosive public tragedy? It's a very somber thought to reflect on.